And we're on. I'll start it off, man. Please.
Welcome to the Keep On, Keepin On podcast. Something me and Justin have been talking about for some time now. Both of us are, 20-something. We're chasing our dreams. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are doing the same thing. And a lot of times it can get discouraging or, you can be let down at times or things may get tough and there might be certain obstacles thrown in the way. And I think we want this podcast, as it grows and whatever it becomes, to kind of be that source of inspiration and motivation for you while you're doing whatever, while you're working or you're driving someplace, and just to have this on in the background and something to listen to.
You're making me cry, man. You're going to make me cry on the first episode. But no, definitely, man. I this is our first episode. It's kind of like our test episode.
Yeah.
We're trying to feel it out. And it's something I'm really excited to do.
Me too.
Because it's something I think everybody can relate to.
100%.
You know what I mean? Everybody can relate to this. Everybody. And it's one thing that it's a conversation we always have whenever we talk of the idea of how you perceive through this world of social media now, because a lot of people feel isolated when they go, because you're looking at other people's highlights and you feel everybody has it figured out but me. And this podcast I like the idea of having something to relate to that I feel like everybody can relate to, no matter how old you are or where you are.
I think it's such a funny time also, in just general in time. We've never had more access to information, but at the same time, never been a lack of wisdom or some of the core things that, keep you going. A lot of people don't have certain faith for certain things because there's a lot of uncertainty. If you were to look up, why is something bad for you, you'll get X amount of results on Google, and then if you look, why is that same thing good for you, you'll get the same amount of results. So you could have, you don't know what's right, what's wrong. So I feel like there's a lot of uncertainty, and a lot of people just don't know, if there's better, if things will get better, or whatever the case may be. And so we're here to kind of provide that for you, that positive energy, that motivation, something that'll just inspire you. Because I know when we talk, It'll always be we'll talk about movies or we'll talk about working out, and it'll always end up to bettering ourselves and being better people and how we can improve in certain areas of our life. And I think it really just comes down to being peak performers or looking for peak performance in all aspects of life, whether that be our health, the finances, our career, relationships, everything. And we hope that this podcast will encompass all of those things.
For sure. It's one thing. It's weird because it's something that everybody's going through. Yeah. Right. But nobody wants to talk about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
I have different friends that, from high school or whatever it may be, and, they don't really want to talk about it. And then when they, you're at a dinner, you're having a couple of drinks, and when you really start to open up with them and they're
you start hearing what's actually
man,
going on.
I'm kind of I don't know. Life is so crazy. And then you start really getting into that conversation of we all kind of feel lost,
doubts, lost.
We all kind of, and then it's always a funny moment. I'm that's interesting because we all look at other people's lives, let's say through social media. We're man, that person has it. It looks like they have it figured out, and it's okay to feel like you don't. It's something that's super relatable. Everybody's kind of going through it. It's just kind of having that plan.
It also becomes a question of does anybody really have it figured out, or do we just assume people have it figured out? Just even the most successful of the most successful, I'm sure they're still going through things in life where they're is this what it actually is, or is this not what it is? For example,
I follow a lot David Dobrik. I think we talked about him before, and he just did a show with Discovery and all these things, all these crazy stuff. He has you would looking from outside in, you would think this guy hasn't figured it out.
Yeah.
And then they were talking about that his assistant's best friend Natalie was talking about how he's going through a quarter life crisis. Sheesh. And he just feels like he doesn't the same thing. Where am I headed? What's next? And this is a guy that has millions of dollars and
different
has
level
everything.
Influence of reach and people. I think it's something that I realized just driving one time, and I realized our generation is the first generation where we can literally see somebody else our age, somebody older, somebody younger, and see how they're living life and how they're going about life.
That's a good point.
We've never, our parents haven't been able to do that. Our grandparents haven't. They've really were just what do I need to do to make sure there's food on the table? I'm taking it step by step. How can I provide? How can I, and this is the first time we've actually been in a place where you can see what somebody younger than you is doing, somebody older than you is doing in real time. And you're
That's true.
And you're you can get demotivated by that because you feel like, oh, somebody's life is happening easier for them, or it's happening much more, it's taking a lot longer for you. And I think it's just coming to the realization that we're all in our own time zones.
Yeah.
What happens to me at 20 won't be the same for what happens to you at 20.
That's a good point, man. I never thought of that. No.
And it's like, if I become a millionaire at 25 and I only live to be 35 versus you become a millionaire at 45 and then you live to be 90, and, you're set and you're taking care. But it's just, it's different seasons for different people. And like, you comparing your journey does a disservice to yourself.
Yeah.
Because you've gone through certain things that another person hasn't. And to be fair, that person has gone through things that you haven't, and certain people grow up a lot faster because of certain reasons. People leaving, they have to grow up and be the man of the house or the woman of the house, have to take care of their siblings. So that people grow up a lot quicker. And then you can't compare that to somebody who's doesn't have to do with that, has like a stable family base and has the luxury of growing up or being a kid longer.
Yeah. That's true.
It just depends. Like it's just the time zone thing. It's not really I haven't had it figured out.
I never looked at it like that. That's true. Like back then it was just like, hey, just focus on your thing. You didn't have time to look at everybody else's stuff. There's no way.
There's no way. Like you only knew like what was going on in the community, maybe. And then that was like filtered information through aunts or friends of friends. But it wasn't like
celebrities.
You're seeing like a person's experience happening real time. You see somebody get a new car, you see somebody get married, somebody have kids, you start questioning what you're doing with your life, It's when you hit those milestones.
Yeah.
It was an episode in How I Met Your Mother. I know we're combining two worlds here, but like it was an episode where they're like, when certain milestones happen for people, we start questioning what we're doing in those milestones.
It's a great show.
It's a great show.
That captures all of that. Like,
all of that. Of human experience, one could say.
Because especially now, mid-20s, it's a weird time where... I know people that are, getting married or people that already have kids. And then I have people that are still like, man, I'm just still trying to figure it out. Or just trying to get my degree and figure, it's a weird
I think it
time.
Just reimposes the fact that like there's no, like society likes to set standards, but there's no real timeline for what needs to happen for you.
Yeah.
Like if it makes sense for you to get married at 25, then it makes sense for you to get married at 25. If it makes sense for you to get married at 35, then it makes sense for you to get married at 35.
As long as it makes sense to you.
As it makes sense. At that time, it feels right. It's got to feel good. So you don't rush into things or you chase things when you got to be like.
Because you feel like you're running out of time. I feel like I see that sometimes too. I feel like people feel like I'm running out of time. I got to do this now. And,
or even like, especially as far as relationships go, like it's just the next milestone.
Yeah.
You've been with this person for 4 years. Next thing is like, I have to pop the question. When you haven't even really, thought about, like if that is what you want out of life, or if you both guys want the same thing.
Have you lived together? What's that like? I would imagine if you're with someone, but living with someone is a whole other ballgame.
Learn so
what if you don't like the way I pee on the toilet seat? You know what I mean? Like
100%.
So it's just a lot of things, and it's true. Like we've been conditioned to like set timetables to everything. Like we're like to have this path or like to have this linear,
outlook.
Yeah, like when, for example, right, like what's like the most like usual like cliche way, like if you talk to your parents or anyone, like, or just people in general, like the usual, it's like, oh, go to school, become a doctor, and then it's this amount of years of school, and then you get but not everybody wants to be a doctor, right? Which is nothing. I mean, doctors are amazing, but like not everybody wants to be a doctor, 100%. Right? And
especially, you should definitely not be a doctor for the wrong reasons, which is the money and the security. You should definitely not do that, because the work that it takes to become a doctor, my best friends are in that process right now. It's hard,
and you gotta want it,
and you gotta want it. Yeah, you gotta actually have a love for it.
Because if not, then you will be miserable.
Gonna fold, and it's gonna take you a lot longer, and it's gonna be a much more miserable process if the reasons you're in it for is money and security. Especially in today's day and age, when you have a 9-year-old making, what was it? I think $250,000 off of NFTs in 6 hours.
That's crazy.
Like, you know what I mean? Crazy. Like, in today's
world,
talk to that
kid. Let me talk to that kid real quick.
Should get him on the podcast. But like, if you, in today's day and age, you don't need the school job experience to get that security. Most people that go through it don't have that security because they're unemployed anyway. Especially when something like COVID happens and people start laying people off. All of a sudden, you have all these qualified people just sitting at home, not doing anything.
It's a big
shock. Like honestly, like I feel like, and skills have always been rewarded, but I think like skills only will be rewarded more so moving forward rather than a degree.
Yeah.
And when I saw that post of the 9-year-old that had made $250K in like 9 hours, I was like, there are people that have full-time jobs, like that are not like super old, 35, 36, who have gone through the 9-to-5 experience or done whatever job experience, and they still haven't collected or amounted that amount of money.
That's crazy.
And that kid did it in 9 hours.
Yeah, we definitely live in a world where, I feel
like anything is possible.
Access everywhere.
We have more access than most presidents did today.
It's like, it's insane. It's true. Like, what's your definition of success?
Yeah.
And
it's different for everybody, right?
It's different for everybody.
For somebody, it could just be having a house with kids and, having a cat.
Starting a family and that's
white
it.
picket fence, and then that's your level of like, I'm happy.
Yeah, like some people
I think true success is happiness.
Yeah.
What makes you happy? You don't have to necessarily have that, I got to have my name in lights. I got to be, the number one person in my field, or, where the career is like the center of your life. It doesn't have to be that way.
It's true. You look at it in that way of, there's people who love to cook.
Yeah.
Right? Some people love running their own food truck or something, and that's, they work at that. 100%. They have their families, and I'm happy. Like, as long as you're happy.
I think even more audacious is like, if somebody loves singing, it's never been easier for you to be a singer, and not necessarily a famous singer, like like a Drake or those people. You don't have to be like mainstream, but if you can build up enough of an audience, you can get paid to sing online. Yeah. You have a good following. You just do cover arts of musicians, and you could build up like a 50, 60K following. All of a sudden, you have brands that are paying you, and you're making money singing. You may not be the biggest
donations, etc.
You may not be the biggest singer in the world, but you're doing what you love and you're happy. Like, at the end of the day, I think that 60, 70, 80K means a lot more than a 200K or 300K being
that
a doctor that you don't love.
Yeah, you have that independence of, especially right now, you can really put content out there, and you're your own boss. You don't have to rely on someone else giving you that opportunity. You look at a lot of big YouTubers.
COVID. The shift has happened from like being a employee to like trying to figure out how I can do this for myself, because everybody's had the time to be home and realize that they like being at home.
And TikTok was the biggest platform for that. You look at big TikTokers like, an Addison Rae, for example, or anybody, within a year, their life changed
significantly.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
You went from, I think she lived, was it like Tennessee?
She was like an LSU student. Did she go to LSU?
Something like that. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where she was somewhere from there, and then she went from that to just she's in a Netflix movie, or is it Hulu?
Yeah,
or
Netflix movie.
And within a year or two, and when you really think about that, and great for her, it worked 100%. Out. Now it's only normal when people see that and they're like, oh, like.
Yeah,
but what about me? Am I not successful?
There was a lot of outrage when she hosted the UFC fight. She was like the questionnaire, like
a journalist.
Journalist,
yeah.
And she's like, she made a joke about it, and the people were mad because she was like, "Oh, this is what like 2 months of being in comm school or journalism gets you." And people were like, "Oh, people spend their years, they don't get an opportunity like this." I was like, "But she got the influence."
Yeah.
Like, why would UFC hire somebody who spent years studying for being a journalist, and all of a sudden you have Addison Rae who's going to bring in a certain amount of viewers automatically.
That's crazy, right? It's weird.
That's obviously leveraged more than your degree. I'm sorry, it's
the state of the that's just the way the world works right now. It doesn't have to necessarily be fair.
Yeah,
because I'm sure people
100%
go to school and they're like, I want to do that, but it's like.
I think like people say like, oh, life is unfair. I think life is fair because it's unfair to everyone.
Yeah, that's true. It's equally unfair to everyone. Unfair. Yeah, that's true.
It's like, okay, she has that opportunity, but she's been given that opportunity through maybe not her journalism effort, but she built a empire.
She has an influence. Online. Yeah.
And that's like, I think in today's day and age, attention is what capitalizes a lot of, you get a lot more opportunities if you have a lot of attention. That's not to say you can't be the low-key person that's making a lot of money and doing your own thing. You don't have to be on social media.
Yeah.
You don't have to show everybody you're living your best life. That's not necessary. If that's what you want, then yes. But if that's not what you want, you don't have to do that.
Like, for example, those people that run those, like, those YouTube channels that's not necessary. It's like those, like, who runs those YouTube channels there's nobody, you don't see the person of that channel. It's just like,
Oh, they're like I forget
like
the name of
those
them.
endless like
they're like
8
cookie
hour
cutter channels.
Yeah.
That just have like they post clips or whatever videos or like 8-hour things, and there's like a fan base for that.
And that's someone's channel.
It's a money making machine channel. Yeah.
And I saw that you can have multiple channels. Of just, one channel's dedicated to, here's some sleep meditation for 8 hours. Like, listen to this. And they have like,
that's crazy.
And people listen to it and you make money off of it. Or here's 4 hours of nature videos or something. You know
like
what I mean?
Highlight
4K.
Tapes or like anything. Like where you're not the person.
You're not even
you're just collecting data or clips and putting it out there.
And the views are giving you money.
That's crazy.
And you have multiple of those and you're making money and all, and it's clean. There's no cursing. There's no actual person in it. It's just.
That's insane.
You know what I mean? When I saw that, I was like, dude, that's so crazy what you can do. You know what I mean?
Online, yeah. I think it's beautiful. Like, and I know it may be daunting to some people where you're like, what do I do? But it's really like, what do you want to do? Like, we came up with this idea to just sit and do podcasts.
Yeah.
We've been talking about it for a while because we wanted to kind of talk about Justin. If you don't know, he does a cruising podcast. It's more film, it's around entertainment, movies, shows, that type of thing. And I'd been on as a guest before, and we'd always like either before or after just get on these rants about like things we want to do in life and things we want to accomplish, and how like maybe different challenges we're going through or what we're working on at the current time. And it always became like, hey, we should really talk about this, because there's probably other people that are going through the same thing. And so that's kind of like the basis of what this show is. And, what we're going to kind of focus on as we go forward, and probably bring guests on. At least we want to bring guests on that are professionals or doing well, or even sometimes people who are going through it and just have a conversation with them. I think that'll be very interesting.
Yeah, man.
So,
and it's almost therapeutic, I love talking about this stuff, and I feel like talking about it in a way where now other people can get to like jump in, or
100%.
We would love to have people email us. We're working on an email. We're working on just like reach out and just be like, man, we don't know. It's not like we know everything, but we're just kind of like talking about what we go through. And it's just something so that everybody wants to relate to that, and it's something. I talk to, everybody that I talk to, doesn't matter if I haven't talked to them for years and I think like they have it all figured out. When I talk to them and they're talking to me, like what you're saying, you mentioned the cruising podcast and stuff or that. And I have a whole page for that, and I stream and all this stuff, and people, and I tell people all the time, people look at myself like, man, you're doing so well. And I tell them the truth. I'm like, man, honestly, like I'm doing all this stuff and I'm still figuring, like I do get scared. I do feel like I'm not doing enough, and I have to like kind of rewire myself and like take a step back and tell myself like it's fine. Just take it one day at a time. And when we talk about it, it's like, okay, what do we do that helps us navigate those anxieties or and we always working out or journaling or any different things to help just keep you grounded so that you're not getting caught in that overwhelmingness
and keep us
of
in
the
like
day.
A peak kind of a state. Like you don't want to fall into those low states of doubt and fear. And the more you do things
you spiral,
that'll keep you in a beautiful state or like a better state, and like being excited, being happy, being inspired. People think that like if you're not like angry and like you're not gonna pursue the things that you want to pursue, or if you're like grateful and like happy and content, like you're gonna ease up on your ambitions and goals. When that's not the case, because when you do it from a lens of like gratitude and just being grateful for the things you have rather than what's missing, you'll sail through what you want to actually accomplish,
and you start to attract more of those things.
You'll attract it, and like you'll be in a state where it happens effortlessly. You won't have to force it. You'll be automatically pulled to do the things you want to do because you're so happy. You have that energy. Like, what is life? It's energy. Like the quality of your energy is going to dictate the quality of your experience. So if you have a low energy state, that conversation or that moment or that experience won't be as meaningful because it won't be coming from a high level. Like if you're in a low energy state and you're just kind of down and you're just talking,
it feeds off into the other person. And it's also what you start attracting. If you focus, who was it that said it? I believe it was Tony Robbins, that example of when, going out, if you go out looking, search, it was like in one of his seminars, search for a certain color. Like look for the color red. Okay, now look for blue. And then like his point was like, if you go out seeking
the negative. You're gonna find the negative.
You're gonna find the negative. You go out seeking 100%. The positive. You're gonna find the positive. So that's, and you'll attract it. 100%. You know? It's interesting.
Like that plays into like your, you know, like the way you view life. And I think one of the biggest things I got from him, specifically Tony Robbins, is.
Well, yeah, you were at the event. Yeah.
Is the meaning you give to an experience becomes the experience. So like if the meaning becomes, you know, why am I so bad at things because of something bad happens, or like instead of like what can I learn from this? It's a simple question that you're asking both times, but you're getting a different answer.
It's crazy. It just alters what you get from that experience.
And a lot of times if we just change the questions or the language that we put behind certain things, it'll change the whole thing.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, I'm so freaking frustrated, be like, this is fascinating. Yeah. Like, you know, this is like something I haven't faced before. This is a worthy opponent. You know, like just changing the language of how we deal with obstacles or challenges and things like that. Like it'll change the meaning that it means for us.
Just rewires your brain almost.
Rewires your brain. Yeah. That's why like a lot of times like I'll hear people use the word try, or, you know, I know I've used the word hope here a few times, but like those two words are like very wimpy words. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to try to do something. That's just your cop out.
It's like in Star Wars, it's either you do or do not. There is no try.
It's Yoda, Master Yoda, you know?
Yeah.
And, but it's true though. Like if I tell you to like, you know, try and steal my phone, like just try and take it.
Instead of like,
no, you're taking it. No,
like
try
I'm
to take
it. No, I'm going to take it. Yeah.
It's either do or do not. You may fail doing it, but then you learn from it. You know, like I think true failure is only if you give up.
Yeah.
So if you keep on going for something, even if you hit constant obstacles, I think the thing with people that frustrates them is like things just don't happen instantly. And like there's a level of work that you have to put in, and a level of like
you have to be really
persist to get to what you want. Like people think like, oh, I just started an e-commerce business. Why don't I have $100,000 in sales tomorrow?
Yeah.
You know, or yesterday, or whatever the case.
Especially in the day and age where for some people things do kind of happen, or at least we think it happens. We think. Very
what's
quickly.
Their journey like? We have no idea, because all we're seeing is, you know, that person went from nothing to like the next post is like, oh, my e-commerce business sold out of, you know, whatever t-shirts or whatever they're selling. And you're like, oh my God, that person did it in a day, but we don't know what took to that day.
And it's crazy how that applies just for like anything that you do. You know what I mean? Like with filmmaking, for example, like it's a perfect, I read this book by Robert Rodriguez. Yeah. He's like an independent filmmaker. He did the Machete films and all that. Spy Kids. Yeah. For any Spy Kids fans out there. Kids. But
as a kid, those were like goated movies.
And I read his book, and he was up from nothing. He was doing, you know, he was basically selling his body like as a pig. Like they were like experimenting different drugs and like medicines on, and he would get money out of it to see how it would work. And he was talking about like with filmmaking, you can't look at it like when it's never gonna go as planned. Yeah. It's never gonna go how you want it to. Yeah. You know, and when something goes off, you know, plan on set, you have to look at it as like, okay, what is this? How can I learn from this? How can I work with this? Instead of being like, oh shit, you know. And a perfect example.
Same questions, like the questions you ask will shape the experience.
And after reading that book, whenever I would film something, short films or whatever it may be, if I had a setback or what I thought was a setback, in our most recent short film, the introspection, I don't know if you got to see it yet, but
I haven't peeped it yet.
It was in one of the scenes. It's raining, right? And on set, how it was on script, it was supposed to be a sunny day, nice day. We went to CB Smith Park, pouring, and
so it's South Florida weather, by the way.
Yeah,
it's unpredictable.
And we were like, oh fuck, like in the script, I was like, I had this image in my head. I was like, fuck, like what do we do? And everybody's like, oh my God. And I remembered that book, and I remembered just if what's given to you and just
make something out of it.
You have to work with that. Yeah. Like, okay, if this is happening and you think it's a setback, how can you make it work for you? Yeah. And then Marcel, who was playing the actor in it, he was like, oh man, like, you know, this kind of adds more of a dramatic feel, you know? And it was a pivotal point in the story of the film. And I was like, let's film this. Yeah. Let's film this. Like this might work. It's like, instead of seeing it as a setback, it's like, okay, how can I work with this? Yeah. And it most of the time works in your favor. That's the craziest thing. Every time that's happened to me filming, I look at it and I'm like, at first, of course, it's like, fuck, like, oh my God. Like, of course it would be today, right? That would be like the normal response. Like, of course it's raining today. Only me, right?
Only me, right, yeah.
Why does
what was me? Yeah.
It's always, I can never get my stuff done. I can never, with anything.
With
like,
anything. It could be anything.
Of course it rains, or of course I get a flat tire.
Of course my laptop dies. Of course, you know, like, those things happen.
Of course this asshole cuts me off in the street when I'm, whatever.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it, I was like, man, like, yeah, like, and I told Marcel, the actor, I was like, that's a good point. Like, it is dramatic. Let's change it up. Let's go. Let's film. Go. And we changed up where we were going to film it. And I got some stuff.
Now, let me ask you a question. Did the actual quality of the substance become better, or did the perspective of the situation become better?
So the scene itself came out the best. Amazing. I couldn't have asked for anything else, which is crazy, right? When at first I'm like, oh, why is it raining?
Why is it?
And when we changed the dynamic of the scene, I was like, everybody was laughing. I was like, we need it to keep raining. So we have the umbrella. I'm like, no, it's got to keep raining. Then it would stop raining. I was like, no, let's wait for the rain. Let's go.
Let's go.
And we just kept getting more rain. We wanted more rain. And it made the scene, when you watch it, whenever you watch it, you'll know what I'm talking about. And it for that scene, it made it 20 times better. 20 times better than I ever thought it would be. And
it worked in your favor. It's something that you thought was like detrimental.
Completely. And I could have been like, oh, you know, whatever. And
it's like
I remembered
that saying, right? They say, like, you want to make God laugh, tell her your plans. And it's like, it's because whatever you think you want to happen, it's not always going to work out that way.
It's not a straight line. It's a very squiggly, 100%. Curved line, but eventually it'll make sense when you're there.
Because you can't look at it forward. You can only connect the dots looking backwards. Why did something have to happen for me to advance in life, or for this situation? What was the meaning behind whatever the setback is?
It's only when it's done.
Only when,
you know, when you get past it.
When you get past it.
Because now I look back, I'm like, wow, like,
it worked out so much.
I can't imagine that scene working any other way.
Yeah.
And it's the best part was when people would watch it and they'll be like, oh my God, like, wait, like, you know, the rain, like, that scene was so good. Right. I was like, wow, like, it literally worked in our favor.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's kind of like being like, here you go.
No, it's true.
But it's like, again, it's just like how you take it. Because I could have, what if I was just like,
pack up,
guys,
let's go.
We're going to have to sit this one out.
Yeah.
Let's just go do something else. Forget it. This is terrible.
Yeah.
And then that could have been an opportunity that the universe was giving me to make this scene better. 100%. And I didn't see it that way.
100%.
I think that's
a great point you just made. Like, what is universe trying to teach me right now?
Are you going to take this, like, the universe is giving this to you. It's offering this. It's all how you see it. Are you going to take it? And
I think our problems become our gifts when we realize that that's what they are. Like what is this what's great about this? As hard of a situation as it can possibly be, what is great about this? And it may be a hard question to ask for a lot of situations.
Yeah.
You know, you lose a family member, you lose a loved one. You can't really ask what's great about this. Yeah. But it's like, what can I learn from it? Or how can I grow? Or you know, like you always think in terms of like life and stuff, you always have more time. But like, if you learn to appreciate every single moment and you do with that moment the best that you possibly can, you realize that it was good. It was good. You wouldn't look back on it with regrets. Or
it's a good point.
I should have called somebody more often, or I should have, you know, expressed my love for them more often, or whatever the case may be. Or I should have been nicer to them or kinder to them, whatever it is. You know, and you learn those things from certain moments like that, and you don't want it to get to that point for you to learn about those things. You know, you want to kind of be proactive. And learn from other people's mistakes. When somebody talks about when you sit with somebody who's older, who's maybe, you know, I know Gary Vee has this thing where he goes to senior homes.
I was just going to mention that.
And he talks to older people, and he's like, yo, like, when you go and talk to these people and they talk to you about their regret, then you can learn about, like, if you can learn from somebody else, that's the best way to learn. Because that'll save you decades.
Just be very observational and take in everything.
You know, and it'll save you decades of hardship. Like, why go through it yourself if you can learn from somebody else's mistakes? Yeah. You know? Because
it's exactly that. I have a coworker. He's like 70.
Yeah.
He's a really nice. He's where is he from? Philippines.
Yeah.
Very nice guy. He's 70, and he was like telling me, he's like, oh, just man, you know. I told him, oh, I'm 25. He's like, oh, you have your whole life ahead of you. Yeah. And he was telling me, he's like, you know, because he was talking about his birthday coming up or something like that, and he was like, yeah, man, you know, I think about it like to be young again, you know. And he's like, the things I would do differently. You know, or just try to set myself up a little bit better to retire.
Yeah.
You know, he was like, I wish, you know, I set myself a little bit better to retire, you know, because, you know, and he's working with me in this job, you know, and he's like, I wish I set myself up more and, you know, just retire earlier, you know, like, because I was talking about traveling with him. That's what I was saying. I was like, yeah, you know, I was like, Jose, man, you know, I'm trying to, I was just saying something stupid. And I was saying I want to go to Japan, all these places or whatever. And I'm, you know, saving up money, investing my money to, you know, do those things. And he's like, oh, just, man, you know, I'm 70, you know, and then he was just like, yeah, I wish I set myself up better, you know? I wish to be young again. You know, he was like, if I could travel back in time. And I was really listening to him because, you know, a lot of people, I feel like, especially our age, it's very like, you kind of dismiss, like, oh yeah, like sucks to be you, old man, whatever. You know what I mean? But there are people like that.
There's
some
so
people
many people
don't
like that.
don't take it in.
There are so many people like that.
And I really like to listen to people. Like I'll sit there. And sometimes people are like, oh, you're not saying anything. Like, I really like to listen.
You can learn from everybody.
Sometimes I'll talk a lot. Like, sometimes I'll be like, and I'll want to like jump in but sometimes when, you know, when it's older people like that,
when they have years
and I feel like I have
stuff,
something to like learn from. Yeah. Like, I'll really listen. I was listening to him and he was like, yeah, you know, to travel back in time. And I was putting myself in his shoes and I was like, oh, it's gotta almost scary, you know?
You gotta like, it's kind of funny, right? When you talk to somebody who's a lot older, you don't feel as old.
Oh yeah, like, when they tell me you have your whole life ahead of you.
Like we get to, I'm 26, you said you're 25.
25,
So it's like, when you get to like the older part of 20, you think your life's done. You're like, oh my God, I'm so old.
And people trying to rush things.
And stuff. And I think when you surround yourself and you realize, like, because when you're going through school, you always have like, you know, you have people older than you, have people younger than you. When you get out of school, you're kind of like, or you're a senior, you're the older person, everybody's younger than you, feel like you're so old. Yeah. And it's very easy to get caught up in the narrative of being old until you get around people who are actually a lot older than you. And they look at you and you're like, oh, you're a kid. You know, you're a child. And you think like it reframes kind of your perspective. That's why like when I talk to people and people are like, oh, you're 26, you're old. And I'm like, don't say that around me. Yeah. Just because like, and not to just be even funny and everything, just like, don't say that around me. Like, I don't want to attach that narrative ever. Because like, then what happens when I am actually 75 and 76? Yeah. You know, how old will I feel then? You know?
Feel like you're just ready to die.
And honestly, all we really have is the now. My 76 isn't promised. Yeah. Nobody says, you know, that's going to happen. That's written in stone. It's not. So all we have is now. So why would you want to change your experience based on being older or younger when, like, honestly, like we went back, your energy dictates everything. Yeah. If you're a high energy person, you're going to show up as your best self. You're going to inspire other people just off of your energy. Yeah. Like you could be nobody. You could be, you know, have zero money in the bank, like miserable financially, miserable in relationships. But if you're a high energy person, likely those won't be the cases. But let's just say for example, you are, and you show up, you're going to inspire somebody just off of like how much energy you have, because most people don't have it. So like if you have none of those things and you get up and you're like, I'm going to do this, and that, like, why are people so enamored when it comes to kids or younger, you know, like what do you want to be? And then they have these like, I want to be a rock star. I want to do, you know, like I want to be president of the United States, whatever the case may be. We're all like, oh yes, you can do that. You always tell kids you can do that. But what changes from
as
being
you grow
kids
older
and as you grow a little bit older? What becomes like, oh, I want to make a successful podcast, for example, to like now somebody being like, no, you got to go get a real job. Like what changed? You know what I mean? Where does that to like, it's just society. But like when you have that high energy and you speak like these things, you'll attract more people into your life. Something I've noticed is when you talk about bodaciously about your goals and you put it out there, you'll attract the people that might make it. If you use those connections well, it will become, you know, it'll come to fruition. And you inspire others to do the same thing.
It's so true. You know? Like, because it's true when you look at kids, they have like no filter. They have no like concept of like being self-conscious. They're just free. They're just open. They're like, ha, they laugh. Like they laugh at what they want to laugh at. They yell at what they want to yell at. If they want something, I want this now. Or like, I want to be a rock star, right? And it's like you have no sort of like
it's like that, or it's like that what's real type thing. They have no idea. The world can be whatever they envision it to. But as time goes on, for some kids, it becomes more real.
Yeah.
They start doubting themselves. And then those become insecurities.
It's crazy, like how all
and
that.
And then those things just like you start now questioning everything.
It's weird.
That what you once thought was real. Like, I want to do this and that. And then like everybody's like, yes, yes, yes. And then you get to like 18, 19, 20, 21, 22.
You're like, well, that's
and you're like,
cute,
yeah, well,
but
like, go get a job first. Or, you know, worry about that when you have enough saved up or whatever the case may be. And then all of a sudden you fall into this pattern of like, I got to do this.
Yeah, if you have a lot of people telling you like, no, that's not realistic.
Yeah.
No. And then you do.
Because what is realistic? Was building a freaking airplane realistic?
Yeah.
You know? Was flying from one part of the land across a body of water to the other part of land realistic?
Yeah,
it wasn't. Was literally taking your phone out and talking to somebody in a different country face to face realistic?
I think about that like you go back,
nothing great been done has been realistic.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back like 80 years or something, and you said, hey, like there's gonna be an iPhone and it's gonna have FaceTime. Yeah, what's an iPhone? It's gonna have FaceTime. What's FaceTime? Like you can be able to talk to someone on this device. What's a device? Yeah. No, but like you're gonna have this tool that you can talk to your family through, and you can see them even though they're in another part of the country. They're gonna be like,
or even world,
and they're gonna be like, huh?
What are you talking about?
And it's honestly crazy.
It's all because a vision happened and somebody did it. Like the fact that Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and these people can just have an individual space race. Like, hey, I want to get to the moon first or get to space first.
That's insane. Yeah.
Like, that's not realistic. Countries used to fight for this. There were literal wars of like, who's gonna get to the moon first? Who's gonna,
And they're like, they got to that point.
They got to that point.
I'm gonna go.
Literally countries. Now it's like individuals.
It's honestly crazy.
That wasn't realistic. What's realistic? Why is a 9-year-old making $250K in 9 hours? That's not realistic.
That's insane. Or like the other kid that does, I think he does like
toy
unboxing.
Reviews?
Yeah.
On YouTube, like 12-year-old, 13-year-old making millions of dollars a year.
That's insane.
It's like not realistic.
It's not at all. And
what's realistic?
You tell people that, and it's like, oh, but
it's societal standard. That's realistic. You have to marry at this age. You have to have this much by this age, or you have to have a job right out of college. There's so many people are unemployed still.
Yeah.
Graduated 2-3 years ago. Graduated with me.
Yeah. And then it's like the other way around where people who probably didn't even finish getting their degree, and then
they're doing something crazy.
Yeah.
Traveling the world, have a wife, maybe have a kid.
Or a very good job that they like, etc.
I think the message to take from all of this is to like really just do what makes you happy.
Yeah.
Because by doing that, everything else will fall into place.
It kind of falls. Because if you follow the money, I mean,
you keep following it forever.
You can meet. I'm sure you can meet people that have a ton of money, but they don't enjoy anything that they're doing. Yeah. Like they chase the money and they're like, oh, like I don't feel fulfilled. I feel.
Well, that comes into like all the other aspects of our thing too, right? Like when we talk about, we're like, it's not enough to just be wealthy. Yeah. You want to actually like your state of mind is very important.
Yeah.
Like, because the quality of your life, regardless of how much money you have, how much influence you have, how much fame you have.
And what did you do to get that money? Like, do you have like a guilty conscience? You know, people that, I'll do anything for money, like screw people over and all that. And then when you get it, it's like, oh. And a perfect example, I have a lot of movie examples, but Matt Damon, when he was our age, he was like 24, 25 with Ben Affleck. They wrote Good Will Hunting, which is a great movie.
Right.
You've seen it.
I have seen it.
And they wrote it or whatever. And of course, their goal was to get these acting roles and be, make it, and they were so close before and they weren't. So like, let's write our own thing, which they did. And when that movie came out, it was a huge hit and they won the Oscar. Like that's the ultimate, like in Hollywood, if you can get that Oscar, that's your
golden.
That's your literally your trophy, right? And he said when he got it, he was like, it's such a surreal moment. And it took him a couple of years to really like dissect it.
Yeah.
But he said that when he got it, when he looked at it, he was sitting in the back room. He was looking at it. He was like, and he kind of told himself like, man, I'm glad I didn't screw anybody over for this.
Oh wow.
That's the first thing he told himself.
Wow.
And then he felt, because. That's
so true.
You do things to people to get what you think you want, and when you get it, you realize, oh, I got it, but damn, like, what did I?
Yeah, what did I sacrifice?
And that must be a good feeling to be like, okay, like
I did it the right way,
like a sigh of relief, almost like I'm glad I didn't screw anybody over for this, because it wouldn't have been worth it. I feel like it's kind of like what he was trying to imply, because like he got it, but
it's 100%.
He feels great to get it, but it's not everything,
100%.
And I see that a lot.
It goes into like you want to do things the right way.
Yeah.
And there's this big, especially in today's day and age, if you do something wrong, there's going to be a million reviews, and you're just, you're never going to keep your, your business afloat or whatever the case may be if you're doing things unethically, because all it takes is one viral tweet, Instagram post to take off, and all of a sudden your business is pretty much done. That's why a lot of businesses are so careful with how they do or go about things, and it's still a work in progress. But like, I think doing things ethically, just for yourself even, like just doing it the right way, and like you said, to know that you got what you wanted and nobody was hurt in the process of that, has to be a beautiful feeling.
Yeah, for sure.
It has to.
Because, that's what it is. If not, like, you don't want to give off that energy in the world, because it radiates back. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, what you put out,
100%.
You're gonna
get
receive.
back. Yeah. It's karma.
And it's there's a book that I read. I think I told you about it. It's called The 7 Laws of Spiritual Success.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you read that one?
I haven't read it. I've heard of the book,
too. It's a great book.
Yeah.
And it's very short. And it's a lot of that, the law of karma, and just, what you give, you'll receive, right? Or like just energy in general, like what you put out in the world, and he kind of compared energy like to currency, like to money.
Yeah.
Where money is just like an endless flow, right? Like when you give money, that money is going to this business, and that business is giving money to this business, and it'll lead back to you. But if you're stingy or if you're greedy with money, you're stopping that flow, and nothing is coming your way.
Even oddly, I found the more you give, and I mean not in terms of like just giving it to another business, but like to people, more comes back.
Yeah. And
I'm not just saying that from like a perspective of, let me be selfish and let me give so like more comes. You can't put that energy out there. It has to be with no expectation of return.
Just
even because when you give, if you gain nothing back from that transaction but the feeling of like, I just made somebody's day a little easier, or somebody's breathing a little bit easier because of me.
Yeah.
Like that's enough satisfaction, But what ends up happening is like when you give a lot, you end up receiving a lot. And it's just, I don't know what it is.
Happens.
It's just a law of the universe somehow.
Yeah.
Like the more you give, the more you end up receiving. And that same thing goes with the more you put out there in the world, the more you'll receive.
Yeah.
Like it's funny, like some of the most successful people, you ask them like, what's one regret you have? They always say, I wish I would have dreamed a little bit bigger. I wish I would have dreamed bigger. I wish I would have
just gone for
a little bit more. And they've amassed, whatever. They're like winners or successful at whatever the things that they're doing. Like there was still more like that can be achieved. Or like, I wish I would have thought bigger, because there's so much more as possible. And they realize it when they're already successful, and they're like, now they can attain these things. But they're like, had I wished for it before, I would have knew more. I would have attracted more. So that's all that stuff's interesting.
It's so much, because it's true. Like I like to do that with, it's happened, like I go to a Starbucks or something, and sometimes I'm like, oh, like,
I'll take care of the person behind me.
Yeah. I like to do that. It's happened to me before, too. And it's happened to me like once or twice, and I like that. I was like, wow, that's cool.
Feels good.
And I was like, I want to start, but not waiting for it to happen to me. Yeah. Like I'll start it.
No, let me just pay it forward. Yeah.
So
no, it was just one situation. I was at Taco Bell, favorite chain, and
Taco Bell, where it's at.
I literally like I was looking at my room just off chance. And it was just like this lady was like screaming at her phone or on Bluetooth or something, just like upset. Like you could completely tell she just paid for food or whatever. And I put up to the window. I'm like, I'll take care of the person in the back, like just off of like, let me be a blessing. If they're already going through something, I don't know what it is. They're screaming. They're like, they're not in a good state of mind. Let me see if I can make it better. And as I was leaving, I normally don't do this, but I just like, I wanted to catch a glimpse. And then when she found out, she just waved with like the biggest smile. And I was like, I was touched by that.
Just like that. Yeah.
Like it changed her state, like for whatever she was going through. And to like, she was
better
like, oh
mood.
my God, like for whatever meaning she may be attached to that moment, like others care, or, strangers give or whatever.
Or she could even took it in a whole other way of like, oh, this is life telling her to like
ease up.
Because we take it however we want, like
it's like the meaning you give it becomes the experience.
Like,
it's 100% true.
There's times, like stressed at work or something, and a guest is like, hey, like, everything's gonna be cool. Like have a good day, and like they're a little extra nice. It's,
it just hits a little different. Maybe you just needed it at that moment.
Yeah, and I kind of tell myself like, okay, let me, and like with her, for example, that's like, she's like in this, this craziness of whatever, yelling, arguing, whatever the case may be, and that was for her kind of like, oh, like,
you know what?
That was nice, and it just instantly just eases you up, and
then maybe you approach that situation with a better lens. All of a sudden you're
clarity.
Yeah, you're coming from like, oh my God, I'm so thankful this person.
That's why I love to like work out or different things like that, because it helps you just see things with a little bit of clarity, or like
or I think like what it is it's certainty. It's like and Tony Robbins goes into this, but there's 6 human needs. The need for certainty, the need for uncertainty, because if life is extremely certain all the time, you're gonna be bored. So you need some variety in life, which is uncertainty. Then your need for significance, which is like how your need to just be significant, either for somebody else or in public or whatever the case may be. And then the last is love and connection, to connect with others, to love. And then you have 2 spiritual needs, which is the need to give back, which is contribution. And then the last one, which is growth, to grow as a person. Progress equals happiness. So like, I think working out gives you that certainty that you can get from you can get it from a positive way and negative way. Negative way is like, eating bad food or rewatching the same movie you've seen 7 times for that. It's a good movie. I'm going to watch it again, because you know it. It's the same thing. I think working out gives you that confidence to be like, I can tackle whatever it is, because you're changing your body's physiology, right?
Yeah,
you're moving, and you're
literally like just scientifically speaking.
Scientifically,
well,
Harvard did a study that if you stand like this for 2 minutes, like literally stand like this, your confidence goes through the roof.
Yeah,
they found it.
Boosts like the testosterone, right?
Scientific, I don't know what the scientific metrics of it are, but they found that, and that's what happens.
Interesting. Yeah.
So like when you work out, you're changing your physiology. You're moving in a way that's empowering.
Yeah.
And when you change your physiology, you can change your state. Like, because imagine you picture somebody who's upset or depressed. Their physiology is usually down, speaking slower, not as loud. And but when somebody's happy, chest out, up, talking loud, talking probably fast, not slow. So,
and just like, that's the best way to, if you're feeling down, like,
you can change it like that.
Like,
just
shake it off. Like, do something ridiculous.
100%.
Go
like,
for
just
a
dance.
Run. Yeah.
Put your favorite song on, dance. You change your mood, and whatever you're going through in that moment, you'll be able to tackle it with a better lens. Like we talked about.
Yeah. For me, it's running. For me, like, if I feel like if I wake up kind of late, right? Like, I was streaming late the night before or whatever, and I have work. And I'm like, damn, I don't have time for like a full workout, but I feel like crap. I go running. I just come back because there's no excuse. I just put my shoes on. Yeah. Sometimes I'll put my sauna suit or whatever, and I just go running. Like, I'll put some music on if I want, sometimes without, but usually with music.
Yeah. You saying you do instrumental too, right?
Oh,
it's like one thing that just keeps you going the whole way.
Yeah. Well, I listen to a lot of like movie soundtracks. When I go running, it gets my creative.
You post it
flow.
on your story. That's what reminded me of because it's the famous guy who's in a lot of. What's his name? Johan
Johnson. Yeah, amazing.
He's great.
Yeah, may rest in peace. But sucks. But yeah, no, I mean, that's what I love to listen to when I run. It stimulates my brain. Yeah. And I get like this high listening to that kind of music and running. Yeah. It's like, for me, since I'm like a movie guy, it's like a whole like cinematic experience. And it gets my creative flow. Like when you see me posting like a soundtrack on my Instagram, that means that
you got inspired.
I'm jamming to that. So like I'm inspired right now. Yeah. Like the Blade Runner soundtrack or anything like that. Like if I post it, it's just like, because it's so good, I just have to share it. Yeah. Because I'm like really feeling it. And like when I go running, like if I'm feeling down, and I'll feel down, like, because it's like either I'm down, and I just like, oh, let me just get dressed for work and go. And then like when I go to work, I'm like this. Yeah. And then I'm thinking of, fuck, I didn't work out. Yeah. And whatever, I didn't, then I eat bad. Yeah. Then I'll eat like a little bit of junk food that day. But
it's a cycle.
If I tell myself like, okay, just go and get up, I change, I go running, I put some music on, and I just start running. Once the sweat is flowing and my blood is pumping, and then I have the music on, I'm like, midway through, I'm like, oh, I'm glad I did this, and I'm feeling better.
That's like when people tell me like they're not in the best state of mind. I'd usually, like, my first question is like, how often do you work out?
It's so important.
How often are you actually moving your body?
A lot of people don't, man. It's crazy. Like I tell them, like,
a lot of people
and they
don't.
Think you're lying. Like they think you're like crazy. I'm like, dude, just go walking. Yeah. Get sun. Like just getting sun alone. Like that's another.
Especially in a day and age where you're just stuck in your house. You can literally just exist in your house.
Yeah.
Not leaving.
The other day was a perfect example. It was Friday. It was, the day after Thanksgiving. And I was like, I got to work out. And I had work soon. And that's when I went running. And, dude, just getting sun, you just feel so much better. I ended up running like over 4 miles. That's
Especially
when I posted
the weather's
that song.
like great.
The weather was perfect. I put my sauna suit on. That's when I posted that song. And I was running. I ran over 4 miles. And I came back feeling amazing. Because awesome. I got sun just running and just like I run to the point where I'm like, like I'm about to like collapse. You know what I mean? Because that's how my dog. Yeah. But that's how like you just like Ron says it best at the gym. Like you feel that like you're tired. You're like you're alive right now. Your body. That's how you know you're alive. Your body's literally like everything's working. Your blood is pumping. Your lungs.
We weren't as humans. We weren't built to sit on a laptop all day. No. We just weren't.
We're built to survive.
We're hunters.
Yeah.
Survivors. Like we're supposed to move, keep moving. That's a very important part of
like go through like adversity. Working out when you're struggling, and it's a metaphor for life, right? Like if you're going through something, like you should want to push harder through it. Yeah. So why would you if you're going through hell, why would you want to stop in hell? Yeah.
Keep going. Like it's the same thing as building that muscle. You don't just go to the gym one time and you're like, I'm strong for life now. Yeah. You keep going to the gym, you keep tearing down that muscle, building it stronger, tearing it down. It's the same thing. You got to go through those adversity, like being a confident person or an uplifting person or an inspiring person, which I hope everybody aspires to be. I know not everybody wants to be, but hopefully like you want to be that person for a lot of people. To be that person, it takes work. Yeah. Because you'll always have doubts and fears creep in if that's your main source of mind energy. Yeah. Like you have to literally change that habit of like, that's not what I'm going to think anymore. You have to fight it. And you build that muscle and it happens instantaneously. I remember a quick story. I remember when I started high school, my dad used to put these self-development tapes while we were going. School's 30 minutes away. I don't want to listen to that. I'm 13, 14. I want to listen to music. School, like everybody's talking about
some Drake on.
Yeah, everybody's talking about new music. I want to listen to that. But eventually of like it just being beat down into me forcefully, it became like a part of my life. Like I enjoyed positive stuff. I enjoyed like I could no longer tolerate. And before that, I was a very, teenager, frustrated with life. Things are going on, not really getting along with people in school at that time. But then when I started doing that, I noticed a change in my life, when you become a positive, more uplifting person, and more so to yourself than to other people. Because that's the person that needs it the most.
It all starts with you. Yeah.
A lot of times we'll do more for other people than we'll ever do for ourselves.
And you'll never,
like how many times, like if I ask you, like, how many people do you love? How long will it take till you get to your own self?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I was already thinking of it. I was like, oh, yeah, I didn't mention myself. But in that sense, just naturally, we don't think like that way.
I think more importantly, being that confident person for yourself, like I'm going through this, but like I'm going to get through it. Because you've literally gone through everything that's been put in your way beforehand.
There's always going to be resistance. And I feel like...
I think you need it.
You do.
And then when you welcome it from that narrative, you're like...
It builds calluses in your mind, basically.
Because like they say fast success builds ego, slow success builds character. So true. The people that have that fast success, they're now dealing with the ego. Mm-hmm. Now that's their challenge. Now they have to like either losing fan people or like, losing endorsements or whatever the case may be because they're egotistic or they feel like everything should come to them. Yeah. Then they have to come. That's their challenge.
True. I was going to mention the perfect person, David Goggins.
Yeah.
He literally says like, life isn't easy. You have to fight every day. Yeah. You're always going to fight till the day you die. Like you have to go through resistance every time. Yeah. And it's literally just building that calluses in 100%. Your mind. And it'll get like not easier, but you'll get accustomed to it. And where it just becomes habitual.
And I think a lot of the issues that come in like today's generation, at least our generation, is that our parents put in so much work that they've provided a decent life for a lot of us. Yeah. Whereas we don't have to. So there's a lot of like people that deal with, more mental things than just life things. Because like their thing is more like, how do I inspire myself to go do work? Or how do I, because a life has already been, laid out pretty well. Yeah. You could just go and sit home and play video games all day, watch movies, and you have a decent living, go to work. And so you're not as ambitious. So a lot of people's issue is just building that ambition to like believing that they can achieve the things that they want to achieve.
It's getting out of
rather than just wishing for it to happen.
Getting out of a comfort zone, I guess. which is
that's a luxury
hard.
In a way.
Yeah.
Like to where you can just sit and like if you just wanted to exist, you could exist.
That's crazy.
You know?
Just yeah.
Like if you just wanted to not stretch beyond your means and you could literally that's when people become that 50, 60 and they look back and they're like, I wish I would have, gone
like,
back.
I could have done a little bit more, or, and not getting out of that comfort zone. Yeah.
It's true.
This is a great first episode, man. Yeah. I mean, we tackled a lot today. I don't even know what's like the best, if we had to sum this up. I mean,
I think if we had to sum it up, I think a few quick pointers is like, I think the biggest point that if we can make on this podcast would be like, if you change the meaning of a situation, like that'll change the experience you have of the situation.
For sure. I agree with that. So, I feel like that's so important.
Like anything bad that's happening, if you just like change it from like bad things always happen to me, or why am I so bad, or, like I'm such an idiot, or whatever the narrative is that you give yourself. If you just change that to like, what is this trying to teach me? How can I grow from this?
Like ask the right questions. Yeah. Like the perfect example. And I see this, like, it's funny because I really like to like analyze. I like people watching or analyze people, and it's just interesting. You can how the characters you get, right? Like, like let's say you're trying to fix a machine, right? Like on my job, there's like these kiosks. Yep. Sometimes they don't work. Yeah. And then I see some coworkers. Some are like, okay, like what's wrong with this? Let me fix it. Let me look at it. And then I have other coworkers that are just like, this is like they just let me keep bashing this thing closed until it eventually works. Like, no, like clearly something's not working. And it's interesting, like how many people hit their head against the wall in life with certain things, and until they're like,
I can actually tell you like a lot of people's perspective, like when they look at something that's just not going right.
From that alone, I'm looking at
a lot about people's just
their personality, just from that little thing. Mm-hmm. Like it's. Okay, this kiosk isn't working. Yeah. How do you like? How are you gonna? You might think we're lying, but like it's true. Like how you do one thing is how you do everything. Yeah. If you're gonna approach something at 50%, you're always gonna approach other things at 50%. That's what like they talk about. Like like how you do anything is how you do everything. Yeah, like when you get up in the morning making your bed. Yeah. Like if you put your time into that and you make your bed. Which is it's actually like what the general who started the make your bed in the morning. I think he wrote a book on it too. And I think the principle of it is actually like when you do that first task, it sets the momentum for doing multiple tasks. That might sound so crazy to people. I swear it's true. It works. I swear, like when I get up, I can get up in the most sluggish mood. Like sluggish and like, oh. Yeah. I don't want to get out of bed. Yeah. Maybe it takes me 30 minutes to get out of bed. An hour. Yeah. Let's say. But the second I get up, and I make my bed, I'm like, okay, no, let me go change. Yeah. Let me go be dressed for the gym already. Yep. Let me be dressed to work out. Let me go work out. Let me go do this. Let me go clean real quick. Let me clean my bathroom or let me clean whatever. And then, let me fill my gallon. And all of a sudden you have tasks starting done. From the bed. Yeah. If I just get up and I'm sluggish and I'm already going sluggish downstairs, and then I'm like, I don't move and I'm sitting down. But when I make my bed, I'm like, okay, I got that done. What's next? Yeah. It's the weirdest thing, but it's so true. And again, it's like if you want to believe that or not, you know, because it's true. Like it's all based off the person, like that example of like bashing something, but it's so real. True. Like it's real. You have a USB slot and that's clearly an HDMI port, and they're just like, and they're like, it's not working. It'll work eventually. Like no. Or are you gonna be like, oh wait, let me see. Like I see it all the time. They're like, okay, what's not? This pin isn't moving, so that's why it's bashing the screen. Yeah. It's so interesting. Like but it becomes like what state are they handling that situation from? Like a person that's like, let me fix this. Or like they're more curious, they're more childlike, more kid-like, like more mindful, almost. Like free. They're not. There's no just like, I gotta put this thing in now. That person could be, going through the worst day in the world. That's just like, let me bash this thing. They don't mean to do that. They're not a bad person. They're not an idiot. But that's just the way that they've approached life. Like, somebody cut them off in traffic and ruined the whole day for them. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like all of a sudden they're like, oh, this thing's not working. Like nothing works or whatever. And they just create that meaning for their situation, their life. Whereas the person who's like, let me see what this is like. Maybe is having a great day. Yeah. It's like, how can I make an adventure out of like fixing this USB thing? Mm-hmm. It's interesting. And another point, like I know we didn't really touch upon this, but like just be childlike. Be a kid. Mm-hmm. What's the rush to, growing up,
like you're gonna get older. That's just part of science and just years accumulating.
Remember being a kid and being like, I want to grow up.
Yeah, that's just part of years accumulating. But you don't really have to like mentally get older. Still be curious. Still be passionate about things. Still be energetic.
Yeah,
kids have so much energy and they're laughing and they step in a puddle. They splash in the puddle. Whereas
instead of being
adult,
like, oh,
you're
shit,
like
my shoes.
Yeah. Kid, like you're having a conversation, a train goes by and like, oh my God, such a loud train. A kid's like, oh my God, a train.
Yeah, literally.
It's so keeping that experience of life youth-like and not being so bogged down by being an adult. There's no fun in being an adult.
Yeah, no.
And
it's crazy. Like kids and dogs, I feel like bring out joy in people.
Exactly.
What does a dog care about? Like, oh, that you got home, that they got their food, that they can shit outside.
The craziest thing about dogs is like you could have literally beat the dog yesterday and they'll be fine the next day.
Yeah.
Like the people, first of all, if you hit dogs, you're the worst. You're the scum of the earth.
Yeah.
But there's the most forgiving, loving, unconditional beings on this planet.
Yeah. It's
like they
don't care about anything
so
else.
hard. Like they just want, and you're their whole life.
Yeah.
They're a part of ours, but for them, we're everything.
Like, where are you? Oh, you're home. And then they're like, let's play like that,
It's crazy. And then they spend most of their days probably just waiting for you to get home too.
Yeah,
that's
like they'll sit there. Part. Like my dogs, like if we leave or something, they'll like lay there.
Yeah.
And when we get back, they're still laying there. And they'll be like, oh, you're home. And then, like, that's it. Like there's no like, it's just straight emotion. Yeah. But like, just like that excitement. Intuitive emotion, like, oh, you're home, I'm excited, or oh, I'm hungry. Yeah. All right, I gotta go outside and take a shit. Like that's it. Like that's their life. I'm happy now. Like I see my dogs, no joke. Like I take them outside. They'll go outside, and when they finish taking a shit, they're happy. They're like, yeah. And
they'll do the little what's the
like a little trot.
They'll do the sprint too. It's like the zoomies. They call them the zoomies. Those are just run like, and just like, crazy. Yeah.
They're super happy about that. I love that. Like life is great. Then they'll go back inside and be like, so what are we gonna do now? Yeah, that's the happiest things ever.
I think what we can end the podcast on
on how dogs shit happy.
How dogs shit. The simple things in life.
Just literally though, like dogs are like epitome of that.
But actually though, like if you think about, there's 3 questions you should ask yourself that are like, if you focus on the correct answer, you'll have a higher quality of life, right? First question is, do you focus more on what you have or what you don't have? Mm-hmm. A lot of people, if we had an audience here and we ask people, a lot of people focus on what they're missing, because that's what most achievers do. What's next? What can I achieve? And then the second question, to answer the first question, instead of focusing on what you do have, like let's say, we spent 25, 26 years on this earth. God forbid tomorrow we lose our eyes. That's something we've gotten used to. All of a sudden your quality of life changes. We just don't even appreciate
that we have eyes, for example.
Or just breathing, having all 10 fingers, a hand, like something simple. Appreciate, like you can find things to appreciate no matter how beat down your life is. Yeah. Your life could be the worst. You could have 0 things to appreciate, but as long as you have a will to keep going and a beating heart and a healthy person has a million dreams, an unhealthy person has only one.
To be healthy.
Just want to be healthy.
It's crazy.
So if you just appreciate what you have, focus on what you have, it'll change your state of being for the most part.
For sure.
The second part is, you focus more on what you can control or what you can't control. A lot of people love to focus on things that are out of their control. This person said this is that, this, yada, yada, yada. So-and-so doesn't love me. Like, will I get a raise or am I getting fired? Like, the focus is something completely different than, what can I control? Let me control my effort. Let me control my state of being. Can I be a happy person? Can I be an energetic person? An uplifting person? Can I change the meaning of what things mean instead of like letting my mind control me control my mind? So focusing on things you can control. And then the last is, you focus more on your past, present, or future. A lot of people focus on the past, and it's not a lot of people, like people focus on the past, and it's usually not a good past. Mm-hmm. They're not focusing on the good memories of like, oh, it's usually like this and this happened, like trauma, this, I need to heal, yada, yada, yada. And then a lot of people focus on the future. And then there's the anxiety of like what may happen, what won't happen.
The uncertainty,
And then, but if you live in the present, which is literally all we can control, it'll focus a lot on the present and a little bit on the future. Mm-hmm. That's the key. Because what you do today is going to manifest into tomorrow. The result of where we are today is a result of where we were 5 years ago. The actions, the efforts, things we put in,
Yeah.
So you answer those 3 questions and you do it. You focus on the things, you know, you have, focus on things you can control, and focus on the present, live in the moment, and have a vision for your future. We'll be fine.
No better way to end it than that.
Keep on keeping on.
keep on. Yeah, guys, that's our first episode, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And when this is out,
we'll probably have an Instagram and everything ready.
So just
we'll link everything.
And yeah, guys,
appreciate you guys.
Thank you so much. That was great.
Yeah,
that was great. All right,
appreciate
guys.
You, man.
To the next one, guys.